He stands alone on a red ridge of dust, a small round-faced figure with two black dot eyes and a straight little line for a mouth. Dark hair tangled by wind he has never named. His brown animal skin tunic is stitched with uneven patches. His thin stick fingers curled around a wooden spear tipped with chipped stone. The savanna stretches around him in every direction. Warm sky above, dry grass whispering below, and somewhere just past the horizon, a world he has never seen but is already, quietly, walking toward. He does not know it yet, but this small step he is about to take will eventually carry his descendants to frozen coastlines, jungle islands, mountain plateaus, and continents that do not yet have names. He is not a traveler, he is the beginning of travel itself. Here is the strange part. When we picture ancient humans, we imagine them huddled in caves, stuck in place, waiting for civilization to arrive like a bus. But the truth is almost the opposite. Long before writing, before farming, before wheels, before roads, before maps, our ancestors were already the most restless species this planet had ever produced. They crossed deserts, they rafted open seas, they walked across ice. They climbed passes so high that modern hikers still need oxygen tanks to follow them. And they did it all with the same basic equipment our little caveman is carrying right now. A spear, a skin, a body, and a stubborn refusal to stay put. To understand how, you have to start with the feet. Our caveman looks fragile compared to a lion or a wolf, but look closer at those thin stick legs. Human legs are absurdly, ridiculously good at long distance. Springy tendons, sweat glands instead of panting, a spine balanced perfectly upright, a big toe aligned forward like a runner's starting block. No other large animal can walk for 8 hours, sleep, and then walk another 8 hours the next day, and the next, and the next. Our caveman does not know he is a biological marvel. He only knows that when the herd moves, he can follow. And when the water dries up, he can outlast the thirst by simply walking to the next valley. Multiply that ability across generations, and a single family can drift across a continent without ever noticing they are migrating. Now watch him at the edge of the savannah, squinting north. The great reveal of ancient human travel is not that people wandered, animals wander. The reveal is that humans planned. Somewhere deep in that round white head, behind those two little dots, a new kind of mind was switching on. He could remember where the good berries grew last spring. He could picture a river he had not yet reached. He could tell his children a story about a mountain his grandfather had crossed, and they could believe in that mountain before they ever saw it. Language, memory, and imagination turned migration into strategy. He did not just move, he aimed. And so, roughly 60,000 years ago, small groups of these stick-limbed, spear-carrying dreamers began leaving Africa in waves. Our caveman steps off the ridge, and the landscape around him begins to shift. Grasslands become scrubland. Scrubland becomes coast. He follows shorelines because shorelines feed you. Shellfish, fish, birds, seaweed, fresh water spilling out of every river mouth. This coastal highway, invisible on any map, carried his cousins along the rim of Arabia, into India, along Southeast Asia, all the way to a place we now call Australia. To get there, he had to do something no primate had ever done. He had to look at open ocean, see islands he could not quite see, and build something that floated. Bamboo lashed with vine, logs bound with sinew, rafts probably, though none survived. He crossed water he could not see across, guided by nothing but the shapes of clouds forming over distant land and the flight paths of birds heading home at dusk. Meanwhile, other versions of our caveman turned the other way. Some drifted north into the cold, where the trick was not water, but weather. They learned to sew, and sewing changed everything. A needle carved from bone, a thread of animal sinew, And suddenly, a stitched outfit like the patched tunic on our little hero could trap warm air against the skin. Tailored clothing was a technology as revolutionary as fire. It let humans walk into landscapes that should have killed them. Mammoth steppe, Siberian winter, the edge of glaciers taller than cathedrals. And when the sea levels dropped during the Ice Age, exposing a grassy bridge between Siberia and Alaska, a handful of these bundled, spear-carrying figures walked across it, probably without any sense that they were entering a hemisphere no human had ever touched. Within a few thousand years, their descendants were fishing in Chile. Look at him now, still the same caveman, standing on a beach that could be anywhere. Because this is the quiet miracle of the story. The Polynesians, thousands of years later, would read the swells of the Pacific like sheet music and settle islands scattered across an area larger than Russia. The Saharan peoples would map wells across an ocean of sand. The Andean travelers would build rope bridges over gorges that made European explorers dizzy. The Inuit would navigate by the angle of drift ice. The Aboriginal songlines would encode entire continents into memorized melodies so that a person could walk 1,000 miles guided by a song their great-grandmother taught them. Every one of these traditions is a descendant of that first small figure on the ridge, learning that the world can be crossed if you are patient, observant, and just a little bit fearless. And here is where it starts to matter to you. Every road you have ever driven follows, somewhere beneath the asphalt, a path first walked by someone like him. Trade routes became highways. Migration corridors became borders. The reason your language exists, the reason your face looks the way it does, the reason your favorite food contains ingredients from 3 different continents is that people who owned almost nothing decided again and again to see what was over the next hill. Globalization is not a modern invention. It is a 60,000-year-old habit. Our caveman was the first commuter, the first tourist, the first refugee, the first explorer, and he was all of them at once, because to him, they were the same thing. Moving. Because moving was how you stayed alive. Watch him one more time. The sun is lower now, painting the dust in long amber streaks. He has not aged in our story, because he was never really one person. He was every ancestor you have, standing at every horizon they ever faced, deciding to go. Not because they were promised anything, not because they knew what waited, but because something in that small round head behind those 2 black dots could imagine a place it had not yet been and could not rest until it had walked there. That impulse is still inside you. It is why you scroll, why you wander, why you look up at planes, why the word elsewhere has a pull to it that no other word quite matches. He turns, spear over his thin shoulder, patched tunic catching the wind, and takes another step into the dust. The horizon does not move. It never does. That is the trick of horizons, and the reason our species keeps chasing them. Somewhere in the long chain of footprints behind him, one of them became yours, and somewhere ahead of him, in a future he will never see, someone is boarding a flight, packing a bag, leaving a village, crossing a border, arriving somewhere new, and doing, in the language of the modern world, exactly what he did first. Ancient humans did not travel the world. They invented the idea that the world was something you could travel at all. And once that idea was loose, there was no calling it back. He walks off the ridge. The dust settles. The story, quietly, continues in us.